Welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and yes, it's finally time to start the pre-sequel. And I'm going to be starting with lasers, more specifically Maliwan lasers. So Maliwan, at least the Maliwan barrel lasers, let me go down and get my regular purple one. Maliwan purple, or regular lasers, with Maliwan beam, or with the Maliwan barrel, are beam lasers. Beam lasers typically have a bit of a recoil, as you can kind of see it bouncing around there. The accuracy that Jack has helps that a little bit. And they also have continuous damage, as you see here, 218% on a purple one. So as you fire, the thing does more damage, as you can see here. Let it reset. Look at the first shot. Not on a crit. Looks like... yeah, they keep it, so you gotta let it sit for a bit to get rid of it. But it started off at about 1.2 there. And then after I fired a lot, then you're getting up to 3. So you can see the damage goes up significantly as you fire these. The other nice thing about the damage boost on these, it is multiplicative, which means it will multiply your crits and your additive bonuses. So it is a pretty powerful thing. Beams also do not suffer from bullet reflection, which is a very cool thing. And that hurts some characters like Nisha, where she can be really good with beams at times, but at other times you can't get like Trick Shot and Unforgiven with beams. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. So moving on to the actual guns. I guess I will just start off with the first legendary up here. Now the Thunderfire is actually a dull barrel. So this is the dull barrel ones act more like an SMG or assault rifle. And this one is cool because it has a fire element, or a shock bullet with a fire splash. And the splash actually has more, it's like, I think 130 or 160, 165 maybe is the right number, damage. Now the shock there is showing more. I don't think the splash gets the continuous bonus. It does not look like it does, where the actual bullet does. Now, comparing the Thunderfire, before I go too much further into it, to I know I have it here, a purple dull barrel blaster there. You have less damage, less fire rate, but on this one you have a much higher electrical chance, and I believe that applies to the splash damage as well. But with the splash damage, you kind of have quite a bit of damage on this thing. Whoops, that's not the right one. There we go. So you can see the damage there. Now it does take 2 ammo per shot. This isn't the end of the world though, because the lasers have a big ammo pool. The fire rate's not too bad, and if you have a character that can kick up the fire rate, you can get quite a bit of things out of this. But also this Nova, it's fairly large, where in regular combat there's a lot of times where you will group up multiple enemies with that. So it works good, and there's a lot of shielded, I guess, yeah, shielded humanoid enemies. So the shock and fire works quite well together. It won't take long to strip the shields with this. It also looks quite glorious. So I think all in all, this is a pretty big win. It's creative. I like multi-element guns like this. Shock is neutral, which is good. The Nova's big. It looks awesome. The 2 damage, or the 2 ammo per bullet seems to be a fair enough trade-off for what this can put out. And I like dull-barreled Maliwans because you're incredibly accurate with them. You can see here, there's not much bounce. So they're incredibly accurate. You still can get the continuous damage bonus. And with, like, Nisha, with this, she could just do crazy things. Those nodes would be going off everywhere with Trick Shot and Unforgiven. It would just be absolute madness. So yeah, this thing I think is a pretty sweet and pretty well created legendary. So a big fan of the Thunderfire here. Next, we go on to the Absolute Zero. Now the Absolute Zero is Maliwan barreled. And you can see, that's not the right one. Here we go. You can see here, has significantly more base damage, significantly higher chance to cause elemental effect, and the Absolute Zero is always cryo. But also your dot damage is up, but your magazine is really far down there.
Now that is pretty.
So for a cryo weapon, this is pretty good, but you can see you're going to be reloading constantly with it, which could make this probably a cool gun for Claptrap, with like one last thing and stuff. And your continuous damage, it doesn't disappear when you stop firing. It just kind of slowly ticks down again, then you build it back up. So with the reload speed of these things, you can get that damage up there, making it a very good cryo weapon. Probably best served on Aurelia and Claptrap, I would assume, just because Aurelia's cryo boosts will be able to do crazy things with this. And Claptrap likes those low magazines for like one last thing and all of his Novas. And he also likes to put out dots for, I think, Maniacal Laughter. So I can imagine Claptrap getting quite a bit out of this. Athena doesn't really care for cryo that much. She just has so much damage. I don't really worry about it with her. There are some people that do that. And every character does have the cryo comp, though, from the Holodome. So, yeah, this thing can put out a lot of damage. I guess Jack might be one. If you want to do a cryo Jack, they could do some crazy things with this. Because of AA and Just Compensation, you could really actually fix that magazine size issue, and that could help with it. So that is the Absolute Zero. I'm not the biggest fan of this, just because I'd rather kind of freeze and swap, and it's got limited range. But I mean, I guess with that 21% in its fire rate, it's pretty damn good at freezing. So next in line, we would have the Rosie. Now, the Rosie here is another purple Maliwan barreled Maliwan laser. And you can see its stats are the exact same as a regular beam, but the continuous damage has gone from 218 to 368. Now, originally this was much higher on the Rosie. I think it was like, was it 514? I don't remember the original numbers, but it was broken. Let's see if I can get some numbers here, not dots. But this thing can just really crank up the damage to insane levels because of that big continuous boost. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. I've heard it's got more recoil than a regular beam, and I'm just going to hit fire it here. And now I'm going to go back to the regular beam. I've never actually seen that confirmed. I'm not sure if it's 100% true. I thought I'd just swap this out. Oops. Alright, I want to leave that other gun there for consistency. Yeah, this seems to move around pretty much like the Rosie. So I don't think the recoil is much different. It might be slightly, but I don't think it's big enough to really be that big of a difference. Here's why I don't like the Rosie. I mean, it's powerful. Don't get me wrong. It's a damn good gun. And fuck the nerf, it needed to be nerfed. It's still insanely powerful because 368 multiplicative damage is fucking huge. It was just way too big before. It's still one of the best guns in the game. Here's why I don't like it. They just took this and upped the continuous beam damage to a dumb level. Now, things like the bitch or the lady fist, you usually kind of have like a drawback to get that extra, or it's like the lady fist has lower base damage than a regular Hyperion pistol. The Hawkeye has lower base damage. So like when you're raising those crit damages on some of those crazy crit guns, you usually have some kind of drawback or make it so you have to crit. So I think if they're going to do that continuous bonus damage on this, they should have lowered the fire rate or magazine size or reload speed or even damage. Something to make it so it's just not broken, and then they could have left it up at that 500 range. But now it's just like, oh cool, it's the same thing exactly, but more continuous bonus damage. And I just find that boring. I would rather have something else with it. Maybe leave it up at that 500, make it cost 2 ammo a shot. I don't know. But I just find it uninspired. Like I said, it's still damn good. I just find it less interesting. Now we go to the Spadroon. Now this is what I think they did right. Now this is a blue one, so compared to this purple, it's got more damage, more fire rate, way bigger magazine size, and lower chance to cause a dot. But compared to the Rosy here, you can see it still has all those things. Well, I mean, of course, because the Rosy's got the same base stats. But this is blue, so you'd actually compare it. It's made from this gun. So the damage here is not quite doubled, but maybe about 40% without really doing the math. Better accuracy, better fire rate. The magazine size is crazy big, and lower chance to cause the dot. So this is one of my favorite lasers because it's just so, like I was saying with the Rosy, it's boring. This one's interesting because it is supposed to be like a lightsaber. Now you can see here, I'm not even going to be able to hit this guy because this thing has such short range. So here it's not hitting, here it's not hitting, there it's hitting. So that's kind of that range you can see. So it's got slightly longer than melee range, maybe like Nisha's whip range, roughly. You can see it's hitting there. But with that, since it's supposed to be like a lightsaber, and you will get that when you do the quest, the reason why, that's what like the cool thing about the magazine size being so big, you can just keep firing it like you are doing a lightsaber fight. And this thing actually has the highest DPS of any of these lasers. Well, I wonder if the Thunderfire with the Nova would. But originally, even pre-nerf, this had higher DPS than the Rosy. It's just that DPS is in a very short range. So this thing can put out the hurt in a massive way. And I think that is cool, but it is limited to get that hurt. And that's what makes it an interesting, really cool gun, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, it's just can absolutely destroy enemies. So, very cool, very interesting gun. Incredibly fast fire rate, and that's what also puts to its DPS. And with Jack, this will get stupid in a second. Let me just get rid of my grenades. Oh, I don't even have that skill. Damn it, not with this build. Okay, well, that was a waste. But typically, if you have just compensation, you can get this thing well over 500 in the ammo capacity, which is very cool and very fun. So to me, this is a major win. It's got huge advantages, but then it's got the drawbacks. And the electrocute chance being a drawback, that one actually kind of hurts Athena a little bit. It's not that great with Athena, believe it or not. You can make it work with her, but she likes guns that put out puts out the dots a lot more. That 5.3 is really low. But Jack fucking loves it. So that is the Spadroon. Where are we next? The infamous E-Gun. So the E-Gun's an odd one, because this is a beam, but it's not really a... It doesn't have a Maliwan barrel. It has what looks like more a doll barrel, like the Thunderfire. You know, if we take a look at it here, it also has its own element. It's kind of fire, but it's not fire. Stat-wise, you have the same stats as a regular beam. You just have a different looking barrel, and it has its own element. So you see here, it shows non-elemental, but it's not non-elemental, and it's not fire, but it shares some similarities with fire. So it's just its own unique element. But the lame thing about that is it has the exact stats of a beam. All the way down. Actually, it's 4% less continuous damage. Everything else is exactly the same. But you can't cause a dot with it. It's just weird. A lot of people love it, and it's a cool Easter egg. But the gun itself, it's not a bad gun because Maliwan beams are good. But really, you'd be better off just matching elements. And it's really only good for its quest. And yeah, that's it. I wish they would have done something a little more interesting with it. It's just not very interesting. Outside of the element, which is definitely interesting, but the rest of it is quite dull. So, as I move down here, I already did the Rosie. Tannis's Laser of Enlightenment. This thing is interesting. So this is another beam, but this one is blue, like the Spadroon. And where is my blue beam? Where'd you go? So, comparing it to a regular blue beam, it's got increased damage, increased magazine size, very much increased ignite chance, but, and then continuous bonus damage is the same. Now, the Spadroon, did I cover that with the Spadroon? So, the Spadroon, even though it's blue, it's got the same, well, almost same purple. It's got 214, where a purple, like the Rosie, is 218. Just like the Absolute Zero. So it's got pretty much the purple continuous bonus, where the Laser of Enlightenment has the blue continuous bonus damage. So this thing doesn't kick out the same thing as the Spadroon, but it's similar to that. You can see it's a short laser, but it's puts out kind of almost like an AoE of damage here. It's, especially when you hit the ground there. And this one does have the range to hit this guy. And you see it just engulfs that in flames, which is cool. Athena loves this because she can easily handle that range with the shield and blood rush and stuff. But you can also just hit multiple enemies, and with its heavy dot chance, she can stack pretty well with it. So I think this is definitely an interesting gun. Also, it looks cool. It's like a flamethrower, and a lot of us have asked for things like that. You can see he resists it because he's armor and it only comes in fire. But yeah, a really interesting and really cool laser. You know, and stat-wise, they mixed it up. So I'll compare it one more time. I know it's bouncing around there. So, you know, increased damage, increased mag size, and heavily increased ignite chance. And that's a crazy ignite chance for a fire rate of 10.2. A very crazy. Usually that's what you would see on like slow shooting snipers and well, not even shotguns because that's per pellet. But yeah, this thing just puts out crazy dot. And yeah, you can't do fire dot outside or, you know, in a vacuum, but there's enough stuff where you can. So yeah, pretty cool and very interesting laser. Now let's keep going down to Laszlo's Freeze Easy. This is another cryo beam, and comparing it to my blue here, which I should have put on a cryo one because I think cryo like Slay typically has a higher chance, but it's a greatly increased chance to freeze, terrible damage, better accuracy, slightly better mag, and tiny dot chance. So this thing is really just for freezing, and that's it. The damage on it is quite sad and pathetic. Yeah, there we go. So on crit. Is this putting up? That's weird. The first shot from this, I didn't even realize. Maybe not. Maybe I was just hitting the crit on those first shots. Yeah, that was it. Okay. Yeah, there they are. Well, that crit didn't seem to do as much. Oh, that's because he has the dot on it. Okay. Weird. Just seemed like that first one was hitting for more. Maybe that's to do with Jack's skills and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's kind of lame, actually. I mean, it just freezes. There's plenty of good freezing guns in this game. The Absolute Zero really kind of makes it pointless. Where's my Absolute Zero? Thunderfire. There it is. Actually, this one does have a better freeze chance than the Absolute Zero. So I guess if you're just looking for a freeze laser, it's not bad. It just seems like there's so many good ways to freeze in this game that I don't know if this is really that great. I mean, it's good for freezing, but you can freeze and put out damage, I feel. Like the mining laser here. But I don't know. There might be fans of it, so let me know. Where am I next then? I'm guessing here. So here we have another doll. And you can see that here, this is putting out different damage. And that's pretty much what this does. So this is a doll Maliwan blaster. Or a doll-barreled Maliwan laser, which is a blaster. Has greatly increased base damage, almost double, but significantly lowered fire rate to balance it out, and it takes 2 ammo per shot. But as you can see here, it has splash damage as well. And there's fire, corrosive, corrosive, fire, corrosive, shock. So this thing can put out a good amount of damage, but it's RMG based, so you could end up just popping corrosive on flesh or fire on armor. That's why, in theory, these things are kind of cool, but in reality, they're just not that great. You know, on Athena, you're going to be popping out these corrosive shots, which isn't going to help your Maelstrom. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of interesting and cool, but it's just not that great. You really have to buff the fire rate on this thing because it's kind of slow. But yeah, typically you want to shoot an element for a reason, so RNG elements, just not the greatest in the world. And that leaves us to the Vibra-Pulse. The Vibra-Pulse is one of the few Moxie guns in this game. And it is a blue beam Maliwan barreled Maliwan laser. Has reduced damage. Everything else is almost the same. Continuous damage is 4% less. I don't know why they always did that on these things. But one cool thing on this, so besides it being a Moxie, it can chain, like the chain lightning, to other nearby enemies, making that lower damage not a big deal. Which is kind of cool when there's a lot of enemies around. It also helps it heal you because it'll be putting out more damage. Let's see, do I have something that can lower my health? Yeah, I have skills to increase my health, so... Oh, that's why I was seeing more damage. I had the fucking rerouter on for my first shots. So you can see here... It heals me decently quick. On shields, it would heal faster because it would be putting out more damage. I'll switch those around again. And the bulwark increases laser damage. I thought I lowered my health.
Which one of you is lead?
Alright. So on a shield there, you know, it heals pretty quick. It's your kind of your typical regular Moxie gun, not the Grog or Ruby, but around your 2 to 3% healing. And like I said, this game doesn't have the slew of Moxie gun choices like Borderlands 2 does. So this is really that only one. And they made it a little extra interesting. Rather than just give it that healing, you got that. So yeah, that is all the Maliwan lasers. In general, I think they did a really good job. There's some really interesting ones. I guess I'll look at them as I sell them into the bank here as a good recap, because then I won't need them anymore. So the Thunderfire, very interesting. Actually, I'm not going to sell these because I'm going to go play with some of these in some maps on a follow-up episode. But yeah, Thunderfire, very cool. Absolute Zero, good cryo gun. That's about it. I won't be using that. The E-gun, I'm not going to really go use that, so I'm going to sell that one. Just, it needed something else rather than just a special element, in my opinion. The Atonement, I'll play with that one. Vibra-Pulse, I've used enough, so I'm not going to experiment with that. I'll experiment with the laser. Spadroon, I already am using in my playthrough. Alright, so that's all of them. So, yeah, very interesting. Pretty interesting cryo gun. I haven't used it that much, so I'm not really sure what I totally think of it. I don't know. I just find better ways to freeze than lasers, or a beam laser, I guess. This one I think is a bit of a letdown, but I'll see if I get a lot out of it. This I think is one of the more interesting guns out there. And this I think is too much of a nerf on the damage. But that is Maliwan lasers, everyone. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will be going through all the lasers first. I'm not sure on what I'm going to do post lasers in any kind of order. I guess if you guys have recommendations and I hear one thing kind of recommended more than most others, I might do that. I am going to be using my deputy build to test most of these guns, and I'm not sure on which map I'm going to go to do that. I'm going to figure that out. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of these. Let me know your favorite Maliwan unique lasers and what you think of them, or which ones you don't like and why you don't like them, because that's part of it too. And I will see you guys later and next time. Bye.